Now let's have a look at the Li-Zho Dynasty, the faction with all the traps and the tiniest heavy bombers in the entire game. And let's just start here. So the fighter here got the same stats as the regular fighter, except that it has bombardment that hits on a 9. And one of their faction techs is an upgraded version of this, and the only difference between this and the regular fighter is that the bombardment is a little bit better and now hits on an 8 instead. Let's jump to the starting units. So they start with 2 carriers, 3 fighters, 4 infantry, a destroyer, a PDS and a space dock. And with this we can easily gain control of up to 4 planets in 2 systems. So let's fly out here with our carrier and 2 infantry for instance, because that will bring us to both of their faction abilities. The first one is called Cunning, and it says, after you perform a tactical action in a system, you may attach 1 trap card from your reinforcements to a planet in that system that contains 1 or more of your infantry units. And the second one is called Subterfuge. Trap attachments are attached face down and remain hidden until revealed. You may look at trap attachments at any time. You do not count trap attachments toward filling objectives, which sounds completely reasonable. And the 6 traps we have to choose from are these ones here. First we got the trap Feint, and that is basically nothing, but the other players doesn't know because they are placed face down. Then we have an interference grid, and it says, while this card is attached, you may reveal this card at the start of a space combat in this system. Choose 1 player, apply -1 to each of that player's combat rolls during this combat. At the end of this tactical action, return this card to your reinforcements. So this is basically the same disability that Jalnar has, where all the ships roll a little worse. Then we have the account siphon here. While this card is attached, you may reveal this card after a player gains control of this planet. Take up to 2 trade goods or 3 commodities from that player. At the end of this tactical action, return this card to your reinforcements. So it can be expensive for another player to try and gain control of this planet. Then we have the Saboteurs. While this card is attached, you may reveal this card at any time. Choose 1 non-carrier unit in this system. If it is not damaged and has the sustained damage ability, that unit becomes damaged. Otherwise, destroy that unit. Then return this card to your reinforcements. So basically we get to produce 1 hit, and if the unit has sustained damage, then it can use that, otherwise it is destroyed. And it has to be another ship than a carrier. Then we have the minefields down here. While this card is attached, you may reveal this card after a player commits 1 or more infantry to this planet. Destroy up to 2 infantry on this planet. At the end of this tactical action, return this card to your reinforcements. So I think this is a good trap to put on any planet that we really don't want to lose. And then lastly we have the Gravitic Inhibitor. While this card is attached, you may reveal this card after a player activates this system. Until the end of this tactical action, that player cannot move more ships than 1 fewer than their fleet supply limit. At the end of this tactical action, return this card to your reinforcements. So if another player flies in with, for instance, 3 ships and you reveal this one, then they have to leave 1 of those ships behind. And I think that can make the difference between a won or a lost space combat. But let's just say that we want to put this minefield on this planet here, because we are worried about the purple player wanting to take this planet away from us. So now he doesn't know what to expect when he tries to enter this system. And now we reach the end of our turn, so let's have a look at the agent. It says, at the end of a player's turn, you may exhaust this card to allow that player to place 2 fighters from their reinforcements in the space area of a system that contains 1 or more of their ships. So we want to do that, and we can choose freely between the new system we have just taken, or we can put them here in our home system as long as we have capacity for them. And that brings us to our commander. And to unlock him, we need to have 4 out of the 6 trap attachments out on the game board. And when we have that, it says, during a round of combat in which no more than 1 of your non-fighter ships or 1 of your infantry is participating, you may choose 1 of your units in that combat. That unit rolls 1 additional combat die. So it is a little bit similar to plasma scoring and PDSs. There is just a limit to that we can only have one non-fighter ship or one infantry participating in the combat. The next leader we have is the hero, and it is unlocked by scoring 3 objectives. And then we have an action. You may attach or remove and attach each trap card to a planet on the game board. So basically we can get all the traps placed on a single planet, and there are no limitations to whether it's a home system planet or Megator Rex. Then we can place a total of up to 12 fighters in any number of systems that contain one or more planets with trap attachments and no other players' ships. So I think we are pretty much encouraged to research the Heavy Bomber 2 so that we are not dependent on having capacity in all those systems when we want to place all 12 fighters. But this seems like a strongly defensive hero that could prevent other players from taking our home system away from us. And the last leader we have here is the mech. At the start of your turn, you may remove one trap attachment from the game board and attach it to this planet, or swap any trap attachment with one on this planet. So if we want to move our 6 traps around the planets here, then we need to have our mechs out there so that we can start optimizing on which planet is which traps. And now let's move on to the flagship, the Silence of Stars. This unit can only be destroyed by an uncancelled hit being assigned to it. And to be honest, I had a little hard time to understand what they meant by this, but basically it means it can only be destroyed during space combat, so it cannot be destroyed by flying through a gravity rift or destroyed by the Van Haugen flagship. Then we have our other faction technology called the Wraith Engine. After you activate a non-home system, you may exhaust this card to choose one ship you control. You may treat that ship as adjacent to the active system until the end of this tactical action. So you can basically see this as a wormhole for a single ship. So if we activate out on Archon Vale, then we could potentially get one of the ships that doesn't have movement to reach Archon Vale, the carrier for instance, and then all of a sudden it can still move in there. And lastly, we have the faction promissory note, the Trusted Counselor. At the start of a space combat you are participating in, you may place up to 2 fighters from your reinforcements into the space area of the active system. At the end of this combat, return this card to the Li-Zho player. And I guess this can easily be sold for a single trade good, or maybe 2, if one of the players really struggle in winning that space combat. And that was it for everything about the Li-Zho Dynasty. Please support the channel on Patreon. Thank you for watching, and I hope I'll see you in the next one.